Gray early. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Beaver Dam Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District Board meeting on March 11th, 2026. I think we can do an hour tonight. We'll see. Let's see. Tonight's meeting is an open meeting in accordance with New York State Public Open Meeting Law. We are live from Zoom from reserve number 4 at the BDL Community Building at 557 Shore Drive in New Windsor. This meeting is, of course, being recorded to be posted on the Orange County Government DPW website through our Beaver Dam Lake YouTube account. If we could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, board member roll call. Looks like we have quorum here tonight. I'm Christopher Dunn, the chair from New Windsor.
Larry Weinberg, vice chair, Cornwall.
Fred Widman from Cornwall.
Sean Skonberg from New Windsor.
Jason Eunice, Secretary, New Windsor.
Sparkle Bassick from Boone Grove.
All right, thank you, everybody. Has everybody here had a chance to get the agenda? Take
Yep.
a look at it?
Yep.
So all board members made their additions. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
All right, thank you
Second.
for that.
Second it.
Is there a second? Thank you, Fred. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion's been adopted. Just real quick, the last meeting was January 7th. We didn't have a February meeting. It's been a winter. It's been a cold winter, right? And this building too is super cold, so it's very nice that it's not that way right now.
There's still some ice on the lake.
Yeah, no, yeah, yep. And it's gonna cool off a little bit, not that much. Just a bit about normal safety, as we always say, please call 911 if you have an emergency. Do not call the police themselves unless you know it's a non-emergency. With that, dam update. Security cameras we've been speaking about for the last, I think, almost a year. They're planned to be installed at some point by this summer. So conference with the DPW the other day said that the final installation and equipment should be there. They have not provided us with how much it costs, and they have not provided us with whom is doing it. And I assume it's going to be somebody at the DPW, but
They did budget it on our budget.
yeah, that's something that's known. Yeah, I mean, it's we're responsible for it, so.
And the feed will be coming here.
Yeah, so it'll be web-based, so it'll be wherever we need it to be, you know, so the commissioner can view it, we can view it, you know, so. Reserve properties, just kind of revisiting, if anybody else wants to take that away about the RPP. You want to talk about it at all? No? No, all right. So I was curious, what your understanding, so if everybody's understanding what the RPP is, it's the resident permit program. We actually updated it last April. It has a whole bunch of laws, well, a whole bunch of rules based off of local law 8. Jason's going to share the link and share the screen just to show you what it looks like, because I don't believe we've had a meeting where we put it up in a published form on the website. Oh, there we go.
In process.
All right, so Jason's gonna put this up. So on the regular Orange County website is this law. And then you'll see the resident permit program, and it dictates how things are stored on the reserves, how the reserves are used. Rules like no 4-wheelers or motorcycles or dirt bikes on the grass, and lots of stuff like that. How property is, if it's under you're taking the chance to store it on the property. If a tree falls on it, you know, obviously Beaver Dam Lake's not, or the county is not responsible.
Yeah, so basically, over the last number of years, we've been working on revising this, just to tweak the current RPP resident permits. And no unstickered or unregistered boats really should be on the reserves. Everybody who stores property on the reserve, again, it is a privilege, it's not your right. So we take a lot of pleasure and pride in being able to offer that opportunity for people to not have to lug their boats here and there every day when the summertime comes and you want to use them. But we did urge people to please collect their property throughout the winter time. We did see some people have done it, and unfortunately, some other people have not. Again, it is at your own risk when you leave your property out and exposed to the elements. So we did have a very rigorous winter with a lot of frost and freezing and a lot of snow. And unfortunately, if you leave your boat out there, it's at your own risk. We have been working on boat racks throughout the last couple of years. Reserve number 3, which is in between like right after the town line on Shore Drive.
Maple Avenue.
All right, right.
If you lost your brakes on Maple Avenue, I would say you
Go
go
right through
right
it.
into the lake, yeah.
So right down there, boat racks we'll be working on through this season and hope to be completed by the summer. This is all in an effort to do better storage of these, to allow access for the landscapers to do proper cleanups, to not have animals harboring underneath the boats. It's surprise, somebody comes and pops it up and there's a groundhog living underneath your boat. And aesthetically, we would like to clean up the area. You cannot, also, you can't tie your boat onto a tree or onto a fence. It's just not the way that it is expected to go. Remaining boats on the ground, anybody who hasn't come by and either picked up or they haven't come and gotten on the program, we are looking at a goal of July 1st to go around and unfortunately have to collect these boats to get people to take ownership of this. We're drawing the line in the sand at July 1st. So please, it's a lot of time you have. And I know that it's a little bit extra work. If you really struggle, like me, I have a Camry. I can't bring a boat here and for, if you're really stuck and you've had somebody who's come and help you get your boat down and you really need a little bit of assistance to get your boat home, or you don't want to store it here any longer, let one of us know. We'll work to try to help you out if possible. Okay, just as good in good faith. As a volunteer board, we don't have vehicles to do that, but we are willing to help you if necessary.
I have two people when we did Reserve 2 move their boats.
Okay, that's great.
Great. All right, we're moving in the right
It's
direction.
happened.
Yeah, so you probably have seen Rick, he's our DPW worker. He's been going around already. Once the icy grip was released, he's been out there for the last week picking up a lot of the deadfall and the trash. He did say that Lake Road littered, like so much trash along Reserve 8. It's the thoroughfare between 94 and 207. So not to make excuses, but that's just the way it is. So this side of the lake actually looked pretty good.
Yeah,
Which was
normally
nice, which was good to hear. So.
what we'll do is once the winter thaw is over and we get into a little bit more normal temperatures, we'll arrange to do a cleanup around the lake. It's all volunteer based. It's not sponsored by the board, but as a board member, I do try to facilitate that and make that happen every year around Earth Day. Last year, we did have the Cub Scouts come and do a thorough pick of our whole area. We produced 15 big bags of trash, which both of our fantastic sanitation departments were helpful and came and picked them up at the reserves at our request. So we'd like to repeat that. No date has been chosen yet, but probably around April 19th, sometime around Earth Day. If the weekend works better for everybody, then we'd like to do that. I will reach out to the Scoutmaster and see if he is willing to, again, participate in that, because they did bring a large amount of bodies, and a few of us just went independently throughout the road picking up, and we want to continue to do that.
All right. Continuing with reserve properties, trees for tributaries, otherwise known as trees for tribs. Jason?
So I applied for this New York DEC program that gives free trees to tributaries to restore them. So I will show a little preview on our website. Share. Kind of what they were looking for. So this is a stream in the Catskills. And then they started doing their plantings between trees and bushes and over a 10-year period.
Oh, that's nice, they have a progression.
Yeah, so that's what they kind of intend, so to prevent erosion,
Yep.
nutrient absorption.
Which is what we need greatly.
But this is what they told
Like it's
us.
a double-edged sword, because then you have the fall foliage that it's gonna fall directly into the lake.
A tree is gonna pull out more nutrients than the amount of leaves. that it's
Yeah,
putting.
and
Do we want to
the
dump
wind
bags of
takes
leaves in
care-
there? No.
Yeah.
you know, the wind moves it around, like when you have a neighbor who has to make their lawn perfect, they're
Yeah.
wasting their time, especially if all the leaves aren't
Yeah.
down.
So are we gonna dump leaves in there? Absolutely.
No.
But the leaves that go in there naturally, that's just part of
That's interesting, that was
nature cycle.
a 10-year,
10 years
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
10 years.
from there
wow.
to there stands.
Bear to,
Well, I guess when you have, the water right there, it really takes off.
Yeah, so we are a low priority for them since the properties that we have access to aren't tributaries. We have short lines.
so do they know that we've now been designated as like a full tributary because of the wetland permit?
I think
and all
that's
that
a
stuff?
little different,
Yeah, I was just curious.
but like a short line is not on their tier stuff. So if there's not many people participating in the program that season,
They have a stock.
they have some left over.
Okay.
We could possibly get something, which we want. Do we want that full cover along the beach? That's probably not what we're going for, but if we can get some trees to sporadically put around in bushes along the edge,
Do they have
I think that's a little more of our fit too.
Do they have a minimum number, something like that?
For their big projects, but I think for leftovers, it's less so.
They have a certain square footage that they'll work with. They did emphasize that they're looking to do heavy cover and that it is not necessarily compatible with some place that people are launching boats. But, so, and they also have an issue that you need to be like 30 feet away from the power lines.
Mhm.
So on a lot
It's
of
depending on
the-
Central Hudson's
Yeah,
regulation.
depending, but
Mm.
it could be that, the reserves, a lot of them aren't very wide or very deep to
right,
be able to allow that access. But, another thing that, is it okay, that I had said,
Absolutely.
they had said was that by the time the water is at the lake, it's been captured, culverted, it's already going to the lake.
Mhm.
And that the place to really be looking at trying to deal with this is way upstream from this.
Yeah, so you actually want the feeding streams to do this. So.
How about the town and the park? Cause there's the New Windsor, Willow Avenue,
About
or Chestnut, sorry, I'm thinking of the Chestnut Avenue Park. The part of, there's a trip that skirts that whole side
Mhm.
in there. that
If
I
went-
they
wonder if
do
that's
it,
the seasonal
you're
creek that
gonna
goes by
insulate it.
name.
That's kind of what they said, is when they're developing property, it's not for walking on, it's not for.
And they're kind
It
of looking
needs to
for
be,
those bare spots like we seen in the first picture. We should still have a lot of tree cover. It might not be the best tree cover.
So they want more of a wild application.
They're looking for the
It
more
can't be-
bang for their buck.
but
kind
they
of
wanna
improvement.
be able to make it wild.
Uh-huh,
So there
So-
was one tributary we drove by, and the guy obviously has worked so hard clearing and making the wet
I know what you're
part
saying, yeah.
beautiful, and then, and we're like, how about this? And they're like, well, I don't know how long it took him to do this,
Yeah.
but this is a lot of work, and he
Yeah.
doesn't wanna see that go back to
Mhm.
wild.
Mhm.
So, but I learned a lot
Yeah.
from talking to them.
Preserve 5 could be one because it parallels one of the main tributary streams.
So I think that might be what Sparkle's talking about.
Yeah.
It's 5.
But I looked at the tax map and it is not the counties, it is.
Yeah, it's the
Parcel for the-
Theodora, those 2 blue houses, right? I think it's their property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I emailed him, see if he was interested, because it would be a benefit, because I know he's commented on the sediment and how he built a little island at the end from all the sediment that came through when the lake was drained,
Mm. Mm.
so.
Okay.
Waiting to hear back from him on that.
Okay, so, all right, we'll continue that discussion, I
So it's
think.
kind of up in the
Yeah.
air, but if we get some leftover trees, I think that would be more suiting for our needs.
Did they make any recommendations?
They're gonna send us some stuff. So they didn't tell us we were not eligible, we're not the most.
You're kind of at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we
Yeah.
did budget to purchase a few trees this year too, so that was something else
Yeah.
that we're gonna look into shortly. So, some well-placed trees will be good. All right, if there's not anything else. On to official board communications, so the only real one that went out from us was right before the January 24th, for the big storm, just kind of talking about ice safety. Are we out of the woods with ice safety? I don't know, maybe it could get a little bit cold again, but there's ice out there, and if anybody's foolish enough to try to start
I
going on
did
it right
hear
now.
of something on the news today, that somebody, they put their, in New York State, close to us, they drove onto the lake and they went in and died. That was today, I think, or
So
yesterday.
please don't do that, residents.
Yeah.
The ice is receding from the shoreline. There actually might be some areas that are still 3 inches thick, but in order to get to them, you're not gonna be able to get out there. So just, I kind of, myself, as a chair, I wanted to make some statements about it. There was something that I just wanted to summarize what we had mentioned during that email about ice safety, and I kind of wanted to just repeat these two snippets of it, that the board holds no opinions of the law. You know, the law is the law. We've had residents kind of come to us off microphone and during meetings and kind of posture about using the lake the way that they feel that they should be able to use the lake. If it's against the law, then it's against the law. We are also not the police. We're residents. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. If you want to do some things that you think you're allowed to do, then that's your decision, but the board holds no opinions of the law. And one of our simple duties as an advisory board is to remind the district residents of the existence and how it guides all who live within this county district, because it is a county district. I had a conversation with an officer about something a few weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh, this is county law." Like he had to be reminded that it's a county law. That you know, despite the town that he was in and the police force he was working for, he's like, oh, like had to be reminded that like we are just such a different entity in Orange County, to have a resident lake with so many homes, with 3 towns that each have their own highway department and different, and so their own boards, and then there's us. And so it's just different. And also there's no overnight parking on the district facilities, especially in a storm. You know, we've been fortunate enough that we haven't, like, this building is only open just a little bit. So now that we have Rick, he's been able to clean the snow. We don't need to keep this building open like on a daily basis. But if somebody's deciding to put their cars in the parking lot while they clear their driveway, I'm gonna say that's quite selfish. So I just like to put that out there, because that is also against the district rules to use, because in the town of New Windsor, I'm not sure about Cornwall, but usually over 2 inches, you can't be on the street anyway. And yeah, I don't think you get to put your vehicle in the parking either. So something else I just wanted to mention. All right, here's the big one. A couple weeks ago, we had a bit of an educational meeting with Mr. Lawrence Rossini, who had been for many years before us, had been working to find speedy, go ahead.
Advocate.
To advocate, yes, well, yeah, I was trying to say, like, he's advocating for the lake, right? That would be a good way to put it. So Larry has always advocated for the lake. We advocate for the lake. So through our own work just a few years ago, even before, and I'm gonna give lots of credit to Mr. Rossini here. We submitted a response to the DEC. The deadline was actually at the end of February. It was to oppose Brittany Terrace's speedies permit. Brittany Terrace, as you all know, is a 55 and up adult community in Rock Tavern, which is New Windsor, on Station Road. And they directly flow back to us with their effluent. They, at one point, I believe Larry had mentioned they had an open sand pit chlorinator over 20 years ago. They now have their own kind of package plant, but they're not on sewer. It's basically a large septic system.
It's a treatment, definitely.
Yeah, and by all indications, it's not working properly for our needs. Alejandro Reyes that was here for GEI, he even mentioned just by looking, he said this at a meeting, anybody that has looked at and foiled their speedies permit, the numbers are not even restrictive enough for a freshwater lake, let alone a residential lake, let alone a Class B lake that allows for swimming. So we're not a Class C lake, which it said in their application.
Right.
So if the DEC was to ignore that or not notice it, they would think that we are a Class C lake, which is not an in-water, it's an above-water recreational lake, which was completely erroneous.
Yeah.
So just that in and of itself, their application, in my opinion, should not be considered.
Nullified. Yeah.
But there are several other findings that Mr. Rossini has chronicled. So I'll begin. This is the letter. Dear Mr. Schaefer, so Mr. Schaefer is the head of the Department of Environmental Conservation in Albany. Dear Mr. Schaefer, by now you are in receipt of Mr. Lawrence D. Rossini's opposition to the proposed renewal of the speedies permit 0032263 for BT Incorporated, which is Brittany Terrace, in the town of New Windsor. As a board member and chairman of the Beaver Dam Lake Advisory Board, we too are asking that the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation does not issue a renewed speedies permit for BT Incorporated at 1 Brittany Terrace. We have reason to believe that this charge site has regularly discharged harmful effluent into Beaver Dam Lake. We do not believe that BT Incorporated has been keeping proper records, as well as conducting sufficient testing for total phosphorus, P. The statements herein are not intended as outright accusations, yet are places we request that the DEC look into further in order to make a more environmentally correct determination. Since 2019, Mr. Rossini has been conducting a comprehensive analysis of 83 monthly reports. So that was from 2019 to 25, which have revealed significant potential violations. Seemingly, a combination of historical circumstances and misinformation has allowed a former mobile home park, now 55 plus adult community, to indirectly pollute nearby Beaver Dam Lake. The speedies application that BT Incorporated has submitted labels Beaver Dam Lake as a sub-tributary of the Moodna Creek. This is a misleading term, leaving the reader to believe that Beaver Dam Lake is simply a small body of water that feeds into a larger tributary of the Hudson River and is not a community of 800 homes covering 164 acres. Additionally, BDL is a Class B water body, not a Class C, as stated in the permit application. So that was the intro to it. Some of Mr. Rossini's, so in the letter, we bulleted some of Mr. Rossini's findings, and then we bulleted our findings because we do too have some supporting evidence for this. Some of Mr. Rossini's findings: total violations, 1,352 over a 7-year period. Performance violations, 981 instances where the facility exceeded parameters or did not meet minimum requirements. So some of these requirements may have been the frequency in which they were reporting. They actually keep their own records, so they're kind of also supposed to tell on themselves if they do something wrong. So
Write your own tickets.
that's kind of interesting in and of itself. Flow violations. The facility exceeds the 10,000 gallon a day average in 47 out of 83 months. So basically, out of half of that 6-year time, really, they were exceeding it. Now, the slightly humorous part that we're going to get to is the data quality issues. Multiple reports show mathematical errors with decimal points misplaced, making flows appear as high as 144,000 to 331,000 gallons when corrected values still exceed the limit. So that's, once again, that's Larry figuring that one out. Inconsistent reporting, some dates appearing on multiple reports, 31 days, 31-day data for 30-day months, missing required daily measurements. So you kind of see that this is not exactly the best quality of reporting. Current facts about Beaver Dam Lake, of course, we all know this, that Beaver Dam Lake exists exclusively by a tributary supply, historically plagued by high nutrient levels, low water clarity. Blooms occur from May through mid-November. 2022, the lake was placed on the 303D impaired list due to high phosphorus. We've spoken about this so many times. Water body inventory number H89-12P234. Frequent harmful algal blooms witnessed in Beaver Dam Lake. Beaver Dam Lake ranked number 3 in New York State for confirmed harmful algal bloom reports in 2025. That's last year. Now, I'll continue. I was going to jump into something about the beach, but I will come back to that. The lake has consistently ranked number 5 on other years in 2022, 23, and 24. Only the larger Finger Lakes have more reported halves. The waters of Beaver Dam Lake are owned and controlled by the County of Orange. The lake itself is jointly surrounded by the towns New Windsor, Cornwall, and Blooming Grove under the larger Orange County Protection and Rehabilitation District title. It is frequently used for boating, swimming, and angling. The resident-only beach is annually operated by the BDL Board via a permitting process required by the Orange County Department of Health. The Orange County Department of Health is consulted directly during beach season when frequent HAB threats are encountered throughout the summer. If it were not for a well-planned and monitored lake treatment program, we as a board and residents of Beaver Dam Lake are certain that keeping the swim beach open would be impossible. So kind of jumping to that. So being that we were number 3 on the list kind of shows that it's amazing that we are able to stay open as much as we can. It's a dance of putting in the chemicals. Yes, there are some people in the community that misunderstand what the chemicals are. They're not preventatives. They only treat. What do we call that, Fred?
They are contact chemicals where they don't, it's not something that stays in the lake. If it doesn't come in contact with either certain vegetation or algae, it just dissipates. It just does not stick around.
Right.
Like
No, a polymer is anything that's joined together and forms a constant, a polymer is like a plastic. But no, it's something that has a very short shelf life. That
It's potency kind of weakness.
yes, right. If it doesn't immediately come in contact, it dissipates. So it's not a case of just throw it in, and if something grows in a month, it'll hit it. No, it has to hit it now.
And it's not copper sulfate. We
Right,
have not
it's not
used
copper sulfate.
for quite
Used to
some
be,
time.
but not any longer.
They're also just Band-Aids because the dead algae just feeds the next round of algae.
So excessive nutrient flows as experienced in the northwestern corner of the lake directly impact the lake's current nutrient loading. Now, I'll stop again. That is not the only major influx of nutrients, not by a long shot. We can go to the south and find areas of the lake that are just as, they impact us just as poorly.
Chris, let me ask you
Yeah.
a question. The major inflow is the one that comes down from Stewart Airport,
Yeah, under the bridge.
under
Yeah,
the bridge. Now, that is not impacted by this, right? This is.
correct. Correct. Yeah, exactly. And I actually defined exactly the 2 points that we're speaking about, coming right up. So good question. So excessive nutrient flows is experienced in the northwestern corner of the lake directly impact the lake's current nutrient loading. This stream flows directly from the effluent of Brittany Terrace. The locations on the water sampling map are denoted as BDLW3, northwestern stream culvert from Lake Road, and BDLW6, the culvert pipe runoff from Brittany Terrace Station Road. We had a couple meetings where we actually put those maps on, and I'll hold up. It's a map, that kind of looks like this, and it has points on it. We have meetings, and it probably would have been a good point to say what meeting. You can go back and but most likely it would have been in December of 23 and probably once again in March or April of 24, if I'm thinking correctly, when we define these sampling locations and the results that we found.
The results are on the website as well.
And thank you for that, Jason. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, and anything that we any report that we have received has been published on the website at this point. Further reasons for the opposition: as serious doubts for Brittany Terrace's wastewater system effectiveness increased, the Beaver Dam Lake Health Committee, this was a few years ago, decided to conduct its own tributary testing program in 2023. These supporting documents are attached. You will find test data for both total phosphorus as well as coliform, E. coli. The results, as published by GEI Consultants and partner lab Upstate Freshwater Institute, showed significantly high numbers during the September 25th, 2023 rain event, when Beaver Dam Lake received at least 2.5 inches of precipitation. In summary, you can see that September of 23 saw an exponential influx of fecal coliform as compared to the a month earlier in August. With this information, we can assume that all moderate to heavy rain events yield these same harmful numbers. Now, there in the letter, there was kind of a chart stating all the data. We don't have that to show on screen, but once again, this data is available on the website. And what it was that in August, there was an MPN number. We'll explain what MPN is in a second, of 67 MPN per 100 milliliters. So that's like a culture test. And so that's actually considered within range of being okay. But if we go to 1 month later, it was 1,413. The magic number is actually 235. After 235, it is advisable that recreational waters are closed. And that is a national expectation, standard. So you can easily ascertain that we are at 5 times, if not more, after a heavy rain, with an unhealthy amount of fecal coliform and then possibly phosphorus. These are the fecal coliform numbers, by the way. That was tested at number 3. That was the location at the culvert on Lake Road. So that's now nearest the lake. So that's after it's traveled close to about 2/3 of a mile through the swamp.
How long is that culvert? Is there any other area that it's open, or is it?
So back in the woods up behind Mecca, it does open like in a pond wetland. We're reading this tonight, and this isn't meant to be. We could circle back, but we can go put up a map and show everybody exactly what we're speaking about. The idea of this was just to show you what we submitted to the DEC. But yeah, it opens up and it goes
Because the
through.
pipe just dumps right into the lake.
Yeah,
It's not like the one on shore at Reserve 1 where you can try to capture some.
Right. And here, this is just to do a comparison. The test point right by by Brittany Terrace itself was 1,553. So it only dropped roughly 100 MPN from Brittany Terrace to the lake. So how that it's not really naturally being filtered out. It was inundated. This was a heavy rain event.
So
That the culvert that comes out of Brittany Terrace dumps into like.
It goes into the woods.
Wetlands.
It goes straight into the woods. And then it makes its way directly towards the back of Mecca, jumps in another pipe.
Does Brittany Terrace own that land?
Oh, back there, I don't believe
I'm
so.
just thinking it would be, that's where we want.
So,
For trips.
so,
Clean up the.
okay, so then,
If it's a
so
open area.
the rest of this response actually may have some more. So this is good that we're reading this. So, and just so everybody understands, bringing this forth at a meeting is the idea that everybody not only gets exposed to it, we get to bounce each other's our ideas on what this means for us. We are still awaiting their response, and I did get confirmation that they received it, as well as Mr. Rossini's comments as well. So the numbers are bad. We ask you to not only deny BT Incorporated a new speedies permit for Brittany Terrace, we urge the New York State DEC to perform a serious audit of these facilities in a useful manner to allow stakeholders to work with local government in order to connect Brittany Terrace to the new Windsor sewer system under a brand new sewer district creation. So this was kind of under suggestion, and once again, I will give Larry, his credit here, you know, giving them solutions rather than just complaining sometimes gets the ball across the goal line. So the idea of suggesting the sewer district, some bulleted points. The town of New Windsor did preliminarily study in the 1980s. The pipe was to be 3,500 feet long. That is a lot of pipe, and it's not cheap. So they knew at the time it was, and I don't know if that meant that Brittany Terrace themselves, if the residents, because at the time it was not a co-op. Now it's a co-op. So the residents there, they don't necessarily they're not gonna have the money for 3,500 feet of pipe. From conversations with Virginia Scott only just a few days ago, she had mentioned that she believed that the people in Brittany Terrace have been wanting this to be rectified for some time, not under the implications that they know what's happening to Beaver Dam Lake. They have not been happy with their sewer system, just in general.
Virginia's on with us.
So we can come back if Virginia, let me finish and then we'll see if Virginia has anything she wants to add. I don't think, I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot, Ms. Scott. Creating a sewer district would make the community eligible for potential state and federal funding. A similar successful approach was used for the Stewart Airport area and Rocky Lane neighborhood in New Windsor. That's the area right outside that, the southern gate of Stewart on 207.
Past the school?
But Keep Lane is off of 94.
Isn't it between, is off of 207? Maybe, I think it's the area between, that whole area between was on its own. It was this, their system was compromised. They didn't have an actual working septic. Like it was actually bubbling up, like they were having, this was in the 1990s, I believe. They had a lot of sewage problems and it's horrible smell. So they pleaded with the town to get something done. And this is where I add on to the letter. In past years, I have personally been in communication with State Senator Scoofus's office over the board's concern about Brittany Terrace and other tributary sources of pollution. During the time 2022 to 2023, I had been communicating with the now recently elected in November of 25. So this is just recently in the last election, the Orange County legislator Matthew Fiscaldi of District 15. During this time, when Mr. Fiscaldi was my point of contact to Senator Scoofus's office, we attempted to keep the senator's office up to speed with the with the watershed concerns as we had Orange County, as Orange County residents, As this moment in time, we here in Beaver Dam Lake are hopeful that the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation will make the determination to take strides to improve the lake and secure the health for residents who live beside it. We look forward to your response. Thank you for your time. Now, just a note about what MPN is. So you may say, what do those numbers mean? So it's basically a process. It means the most probable number. So when you hear these numbers, what's their meaning? It's a statistical culture based, like in a test tube, based technique used to estimate the density of viable microorganisms such as coliform. So you can use the MPM technique for other things that you can culture and grow in a lab.
What it is, I'll give you an example of a petri dish.
Thank you.
With a growth medium in it, and the samples of the water are placed in there. And they determine the number of, use the term colonies, that are developed on that medium. And then it's basically analyzed to determine a most probable number that would be relevant to a larger sample.
So that 100 milliliters, that's the amount of substrate that it's growing on.
That's 100 milliliters is basically what is placed on that medium. And it's a large, it's not just, I'm thinking of a smaller than 100 milliliters. But it's a test.
Yeah, it's eyedropper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
100 milliliters is not.
no, what I'm saying is when you're doing that testing,
Yeah,
that the petri dishes aren't more than about 2.5 inches.
it's about right.
and they're maybe
It's
a-
like an
a
eyedropper type
tenth
of
of a
thing,
mil
yeah.
or something. They're not putting much on.
I'm not sure how they detest 100 milliliters, whether it's a filtered sample or if it's, how it's handled.
I think the 100 mils is what they're extrapolating it to.
Quite possible.
Yeah, cause it's kind of like,
You know, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So, and then there's some significant, so what do the numbers mean? So basically, if you have a 1 to 10 NPM, the risk is considered low, 11 to 100 is considered moderate. So if you go through our data, we're always in the moderate, we're never in the low, and then it goes to horrendously
Exponential.
like out of compliance, yeah, exponentially horrible. So 200 to 235 NPM is considered the limit for E. coli, and that's the recreational cutoff, where you should not be in the water. BDLW L6 tested moderate in the day, in a day, and sorry, I think I actually probably did a little bit of a typo here. So in a dry day, it tested moderate, but then in a wet rain event, it went from 184 NPM all the way to 1,553.1 NPM. So that is way beyond anything that's considered healthy.
Have we ever physically tested either the water at the swimming area after a heavy rain event or at the inlet to the lake from that source to see what the coliform level is during actually entering the lake?
So we did 7 sites for fecal coliform.
Right.
At the tributary openings, but not the beach. So the testing target at the time was to do what was flowing
Right.
directly in. This was also at the end of the summer. You know,
Right.
This was literally the end of August, September, beaches closed like Labor Day. And then we couldn't get an October sampling, so we got an early November sampling in. And then that was what we had budgeted, and that was it.
You know what would be interesting, and I'm not sure if legally we could do it, is at Brittany Terrace itself, at the outlet of their system to determine what the level is that they're actually sending out.
That's what number
That is
6
that.
is.
That is the.
That's what
Right on.
location BDLW 6 was.
Oh, that is,
So-
okay.
Yeah, in that presentation at the time, there's photos of it.
Gonna go into Brittany Terrace, but off the road.
So, yeah, we literally were right off the side of the road. The water goes under the road and it's right there
Okay.
within 200 feet of the.
And that was the 1,500.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
That-
yeah.
I think that, in a stormwater situation, your counts get very diluted, actually, because there's so much stormwater.
Hmm.
So I know that in treatment plants, for instance, they overflow, they aren't able to do the process the way they're supposed to, but they say that their effluent is so diluted by the.
The action that
stormwater.
dilutes it also pushes it out.
Right.
So it's both.
So it would be an interesting thing to see. That's really about what's in the land that it's passing through. Is it picking it up? Or is it just moving? I don't know.
Well, if it's
I'm not.
heavy, it's like stirring it up. If it's just continuous rain, might be then diluted.
Yeah, well, the good thing probably is that any solutions that involve cooperation. If we can afford it, we want to do this, and if Brittany Terrace can afford it and make it work. I would think they would be willing to cooperate with us.
Yeah, and this is not a conviction, this is an indictment. Like, this is more of evidence to get the DEC to do their due diligence, do their job, really.
Well, they probably
So-
don't have
Yeah,
a committee to do sampling and testing and go to CSLAP which is,
Right.
they don't even have a lake, so probably we could help them help us.
I mean, in the application, they think that we're a Class C lake. We're not.
Yeah.
So that right there is like, yeah, Class C lakes, you don't pay the same mind as you would, a lake out in the middle of Harriman State Park. Is what they're talking about possibly, cause you don't need to class that as a swimming lake. People can swim at their own risk. It's in a state park. This is a residential beach, you get a permit use through the Department of Health. So you may ask, why doesn't the Department of Health have more of a say that has been spoken about at these meetings as well, trying to get a greater opinion from Orange County Department of Health. They kind of punt back to the DEC. So now we finally have something something more concrete that the people that get paid the big bucks should be able to investigate. That's how I'm looking at it. So this was basically between Mr. Rossini and us to put enough forth to get them to audit this and really take a look at it, so. Anyway, sorry, that was a mouthful.
Let me say
Yeah,
thank you.
go ahead.
Because this was a lot of work to put this all together. And I think in reading it over and everything, I was really proud of the way that it was put together and presented. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody? I know we said a lot on that. Lake treatments, onto the lake treatment. So when we get pond and lake connection to come here and put the treatments in, as you know, that there's a permit process for that. They recently put in the permits, so we are good. We're not gonna have the delay like we had last year. From prior meetings, the contract, we had mentioned the contract was to expire this March, which would have left us literally without anybody treating us. That has been extended until July 1st. So Orange County has extended it, which means we will get James here on time to probably get the first or second treatment in. And in the meantime, the bid process will go through and then they will get a new company or the same company. We hope it's the same company.
That wetlands permit is good for 3 years.
Oh, it's 3.
It's 3 years, and now subsequently, they can get it in early, and there's not the big bottleneck, because when the state ran it out, it was a big last minute.
Yeah, they unrolled it in January and it was like, and then everybody was racing to get
Yeah.
everything in.
So there shouldn't be that delay again.
Yeah.
Should.
And these permits are not cheap. It was $1,500, which is what normally I think we're only in the few $100s, but.
It was originally $450.
Yeah, so now we pay the tributary because
Right.
we are considered a wetland. Sorry, a wetland. I said I meant
Yeah.
a wetland. So that was part of the new permit process. Anyway, I think there's a component about this, about C-SLAP. So I think we mentioned about this, but if Jason, you want to jump in, about C-SLAP put out an email.
Yeah, CSLAP put out an email, and they're looking for other lakes to host CSLAP training, so it's. The requirements, we would need somebody that has a dock that goes out to 6 foot deep water, which I don't think.
No, I don't
Many
think
of
we
us
have that.
have.
I
Maybe
have
by the
my
dam.
floating dock.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have New York State permit though.
They probably want it to be insured and.
If this is like state, they want insured, everything is gonna have to be by the book. So you wanna help out, you got a pontoon boat, let us know, and
Yeah,
you can get a couple of, because
There's a former board member with area that deep.
there's
Maybe we
like
can talk.
3.
I don't think
people
it's
at our
that
own
deep
lake
at his
that
dock.
need that training.
No. Not again, I don't know.
Yeah, over by the dam. I mean, there's a
I
drop
don't know.
off, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so, where are we? Basic updates with Knights Fuller. Did we cover that? Or we're paid up, right? They received the check.
Okay, just,
Yep, they got
Jason, you got that, right? So
yeah,
you got verification that the
Yeah.
check was received?
And all of the
From
waivers
Nancy.
have been received.
that they got it.
Yeah, took about 8 weeks this year. So maybe 7. So that's
Can
it.
I ask in the future, can this be, since we have a problem with them shutting down the books
Mhm.
to a certain time, can we speed up our application for this?
The problem is that the books close almost annually a week before they invoice us. And they can't go forward, the county can't go
Yeah.
forward without an
And they can't get
actual
the invoice to us sooner either.
Yeah, then they tried, they
Oh,
knew that,
okay.
and I think they got it to us 6 days apart, whereas last year it was maybe 13 days. So it's a shame, if somehow we could get that invoice earlier. Yeah, we would be set by New Year's,
I think Nancy would be a lot happier.
be a lot happier with us, yeah.
Or if
But
there was a way we could prepay it, because how much, it doesn't really change every year, it's the same amount.
that's logical, and
That's not a bureaucratic process.
it wouldn't be on the correct budget.
Yeah,
I mean, are we allowed to pay for 2026 and 2025's money? I don't know.
That's accrual accounting. That's,
Yeah,
As opposed-
I don't think they would like to do that. We could certainly ask. They may say, we never thought of that. I don't know. It's completely out of my wheelhouse. I do not know that answer. All right, I think so that was the bulk of tonight's meeting was really just to get that information out there and kind of try to digest it. If anybody has questions that they want, they can certainly put them in at the end. Or always please email the board if any of this sounded like I have no idea what you're talking about. Email us. You can certainly do that. All right, community events.
Okay, well, community events. So we do have a book club that runs, it's monthly, and it is on the third Thursday of every month, generally at 6:45, 7 o'clock. Most of the time, it is held here at the Beaver Dam Lake Building. It is not a board event. It is run by a volunteer. You do not have to be male or female. Anybody can go. Some people were under the impression it was only women, but it is anybody. So, the organizer of this event has moved away, but we did have somebody take over. So Patty G does the monthly book club, and then she'll get to me and remind me that they'll be showing up here. So consistently, it's held here at the building. On occasion, it is held in private home. So if you're looking for information on that, feel free you could even email me, you could reach out on Facebook, or again, anything, if you say, hey, I have no idea how to find this, you can email the board and I'll take it on and I'll get you to the right, patch through to the right people to allow you to join and participate. So usually there's between 6 to 8 people per month who read a book, and there's a nice discussion, and I only hear positive things about it. Historically, our second largest event of the year is usually the Easter event. We have a very large amount of Easter eggs and a really nice Easter egg hunt that we do every year. The torch is being passed this year off to somebody else who is willing to run with the ball at least for 1 year. So Sonia has volunteered to take over this event this year, which was great. And also we have Eve volunteering to help. We've selected the date of April 4th. That is the Saturday before Easter. Plans are in progress right now. There is nothing solidified, but if anybody's interested in donating plastic eggs, as we usually ask, candy, as we usually ask, or if you want to come and stuff the eggs once we
Hide
get
the
closer
eggs.
to that. Yeah. Last year it was actually snowing out, so we did put the eggs on the snow, which made for a beautiful optical appearance. But it did make for quite a messy event. Some stuff got ground into the snow, but we are forging ahead with that. And we much appreciate the volunteers for stepping forward to that. All of the events here in Beaver Dam Lake that we hold and facilitate here at the building are done by volunteers and by donations. It doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. It doesn't cost you as a resident. We love to have you participate, but I always want to clarify that, because sometimes people get a little bit sketchy and think like, oh, why are we paying for this and why are we doing that? You other than allowing us access to the building and maybe causing the electric bill to go up by a quarter, that's just not much to really discuss. So they're all volunteer. It's all paid through by donations. Earth Day cleanup, again, historically, we're doing this every year, maybe for 2 days, 1 to 2 days. The Beaver Dam Lake Advisory Board supplies the plastic bags for this event. There's not a huge amount of bags, but a roll or two of bags that gets used up. And then again, as courtesy, we do have our fantastic sanitation departments in New Windsor and Cornwall. We will drop off these bags of refuse that were pulled from the lake, pulled from the roadside. And as the winter thaw comes out, we really want to get this together sometime towards the end of April. The date has not been determined yet, but historically, I do have a core group of a few people who show up, which is super. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we'll see if the Cub Scouts are willing to join us again. A lot of energy, a lot of spunk and enthusiasm, which we just love to see. We do try to keep the Scouts in a more safe area versus going out on 94 or some of the more traffic roads. But it's a great event, and I know, look, if nobody else wants to do it, you're gonna see me out there doing it, because I just can't stand the trash. I just can't, I can't leave it. That's just me. We did have a Palentine's event, so Valentine's, Palentine's, it was held by a young ROTC volunteer who's a resident and her mom. They did a lovely job decorating. They came in and they really did a nice job. And it was, again, a lovely event here at the building. If you see these events, even if you maybe don't want to come and participate for the whole day, then pop in, come in for a couple of minutes. We do throw a few sandwich boards out there on the streets so that people know that these events are coming. But thank you so much. This was to Onika and her daughter for organizing the event with games and treats. And we do love that feel around the lake. So if anybody's interested in events, again, I am still happy to facilitate these events. I don't run the events. They're not sponsored by the board. You have to come up with the ideas. I will work with you to ensure that we're following all the rules and regulations, protecting the building and not putting the county at any risk. That's the real important thing. So that's all I have for events. Not too much going on at this point. We are always eagerly awaiting the clearing of the snow, so maybe we can get together and clean up the beach area and start the ball rolling with that. That's it.
All right, thank you so much,
You're
Larry.
welcome.
All right, on to the resident forum. Residents have 3 minutes to speak if they have anything they want to bring up. Then followed with board members' responses, or if they have something they themselves want to say. Since we have one person here, Maureen, anything?
Yes, absolutely. I would like to mention, my name is Maureen Ellison, One Short Road, Windsor. I'd like to mention that we did have again, volunteer, but very off-board gathering for Galentine's Day, which is the day before Valentine's Day. And we had between two events a total of 20 people, and it came off very well. Because of that, there's been some interest in a St. Patty's Day event. So we will basically repeat that same informal activity at Loughran's, which is an Irish pub in Salisbury Mills, at 12 noon on Tuesday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day itself. And to make it easy for people to manage checks and expenses and budgets, everybody gets their own check. So if someone who watches their spending carefully, is not a drinker, they are not splitting a tab with somebody who's had 3 Guinnesses or less in them.
Yeah.
And so that I have to respond to the management at Loughran's by Friday about our numbers. We already have about half a dozen people attending, which is wonderful.
Nice.
And so if anyone who is interested would get back to me, say by Friday at 9 a.m., 973-632-4895, or Maureen Edelson at hotmail.com, or direct message, private message on Facebook. And of course, St. Patty's Day, men and women are welcome. Children would be welcome as well. And we're going to do a little trivia and maybe sing some Irish. Well, so bring your pipes. If you know a bagpiper, it would be great to have somebody come in. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So on St. Patrick's Day at noon, Loughran's, they know you're coming. You're gonna split the checks, you're gonna have trivia, singing songs. Hopefully there's some Irish instruments there. That sounds great.
I'm sure Lochran will have.
Yes, everyone's gonna have a separate.
Going Dutch on St. Patrick's.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Maureen.
Thanks, Maureen, for that, for sure.
Anyone?
Neil asked about almost social, but it's mentioned that in board comments that
You
we're gonna be brought
go
up.
for it. Go ahead,
There you
Paul.
go.
I just wanted to say that when we were talking about the ice and the lake
Yeah.
and all of that stuff, I have realized that, I mean, I skated here when I was a kid, but I also skated at Rings Pond. You could skate in Monroe. All the public town-owned lakes, you can't skate on any of them. Their the liability and the issues with insurance, they're talking about like buying some kind of stuff that they roll out, fill with 4 inches of water and then turn it over and make it ice or roller skating in the summer.
Sure.
I have no idea, but I just think as we're appreciating the things that we have at this lake, nobody's there to tell us we can't skate on our lake. We would encourage you not to fall in. You know, we would encourage these different cautionary things, but at least you can, I mean, skating on a lake just seems like the most natural part of living and growing up in New York that I was quite surprised, honestly, to find out you can't really skate anywhere. So something to appreciate.
So to say that it is allowed here, yes. So yeah, I
Yes.
see what you're saying. Yeah, because I always remember going through Highland Falls, the fire department used to put a red or a green flag out, and they don't do that anymore. I don't know if the current government there said just don't do that anymore. Maybe it's a liability, but
It's a
they used to have a
liability.
flag that said when it was good and,
Yeah,
yeah.
And, you know, so put up the flag and look the other direction, but it's not even that. I mean, they are not having people skate, so. Anyway, something I wanted to just say to be on the record so that we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of
I
people
agree.
are out there
Yeah.
this winter time on snow tubes, running around with their
Oh, yeah.
kids and strings in my area, which I thought was pretty great. And again, you know, it's at your own risk, but
I probably cleared a whole acre at one point, so, yeah.
you know, we do have a lovely area that we live in, and we're very proud of it. And as a volunteer board, we're very proud of the fact that we've been able to keep a lot of this outside influences from you know, things that can come in from the water and all the water chestnuts, and we've been able to avoid all of that stuff,
yeah.
which is fantastic. So really, really great. So I'll leave it to any other comments by
Thank
residents.
you. Yeah, let's try to finish is anything on the?
Yeah, one thing I just remembered that I had updated the county website, well, I had the county update the website to do a little Beaver Dam Lake history overview, which you can see it down on the little tab, and how residents can help tab.
So something we've been speaking about internally for quite some time.
Yeah,
Right,
so like
yeah.
securing your trash can, so, you know, for Earth Day, we're not picking up as much trash, reducing stormwater runoff, installing rain gardens. Using permeable surfaces, planting trees, shrubs, and plants, maintaining natural shoreline buffers, uses fertilizers and chemicals carefully. Keep your systems in good condition, participate and stay informed. So you can check that out if you'd like.
Yeah, it's nice. It's got a lot of information in there.
Thank you, that's fantastic, and you know, let's put a little, you know, mark to that, and let's come back to that, and we'll highlight that some more in a future meeting. I think it'll be a good thing. All right, anybody at home have anything? We're sort of all over the place at the end here.
There's a
No.
question about the Cornwall Social.
So, oh, that was something that was probably gonna be mentioned by,
I have a wee bit of information.
Yeah.
So if there's no other comments by Virginia or Supervisor Bedetti, are you raising your hand, Virginia? Is that- Yeah, she wants to be.
she's
Can you
muted.
unmute her?
She's
Virginia Scott?
Oh, you got her on
Well, she's
lockdown.
administratively muted.
Oh, she's been locked. We apologize.
Yes. Okay, everybody should be able to unmute themselves now.
That's why no one's answering.
All right, you're in.
Nope,
So-
Yeah, we can hear
hold
you.
on a second. Oh no, where'd I go? There I am.
You're good.
I don't know what happened. So first I'm muted, then I disappeared. But anyhow, how's everybody? Oh, good. Steve's on too?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I've
he's on.
been here. I'm driving around. I'm in my car getting signatures. I got my laptop with me here.
Good for you,
God,
good for you.
I wish I.
Glad you could be with us.
Well, I mean, Steve, if you want to kick in, that's fine. Steve and I had a chance just to sit down and talk about, you know, the issue with Brittany Terrace. We talked about, what was the name of the development, Steve? We talked about Little Britain. We talked about sewer for that. We talked about
So there's two
one by the reserve, I think it was.
there's so right now I'll first start with Little Britain School. We
Yeah.
we're actively engaged with them. They're it looks like they're going to go ahead and they're in their design phase. They're going to hook to the our town sewer. As we all know in the past, that I know definitely of two. I'll call it three. There's Brittany Terrace and Little Britain School. I've known for years that there's always been some issue with that going into Beaver Dam Lake. It's on my was on my bucket list to make sure that hopefully we can mitigate
Right.
both of those. Beaver Dam or Little Britain School approached me. Apparently, they've approached many of my predecessors and they've got nowhere. They
Right.
approached me. I said, "Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the two things we want to clear up." So they're moving forward. That's going to happen. Um, Brittany Terrace, I think it's going to be a little bit more challenging because, like you said, who's going to foot the bill for the 3,600 foot to run?
Right.
They're more than welcome to hook to our sewer if they can find
Right.
money or get grants. They can do that. It's going to be a challenge for them. I know they just had a Department of Health. Just come in and did some inspection with them. So I'm going to find out the results of that in the next day or so. So that's a work in progress. I mean, I just don't want anybody to be surprised they don't see that the DEC approves their speedies permit and they move on. So I just think it's
Mhm.
unfortunate, but they got to do something. And then Windermere Estates is another one that
Okay.
dumps into the Washington Lake or Browns Pond actually that goes into Washington Lake. But and we're working with them to get connected too. So I like to see all these places with package, all these uh, mobile homes, if you will, parks that have package plants. I like to see them hooked to our sewer. So
Right.
there is no environmental issue. So that's that. I do want to mention to you, Chris, that we're going to be doing, if anybody sees at the end of Chestnut, we're going to, you guys, I was listening to you folks before you're talking about planting trees. We're going to be cutting a couple trees down at the end of Chestnut. We're going to create like a 4 area parking spot in as soon as you get out of the dead end into the woods there for that
Mhm.
park. So
That's that's fantastic.
yeah, so you're going to see some trees cut down. The buildings and grounds guys are going to come in. We're going to put a bunch of natural rock around, I guess, for the barrier for the parking spot. Ultimately, the parking spot will probably be paved, but it'll be stone for now until we get a little settling. So that's going to be done within the next couple of weeks. You'll see that that'll be completed. And yeah, that's it. We're rocking and rolling here in town, getting things done. So again, I have an open line here in office. Virginia and I did speak. She had a number of things and concerns we were talking about. So we're addressing them. So we're moving forward. But if anything else the town can do for you, please reach out, and I'll help whatever way I can.
Thank you, Supervisor Bedetti. That is great to hear.
Steve, I know that Eve had spearheaded a path from Chestnut down a very treacherous hill a few years ago before the master plan was being put together for the rest of the New Windsor parks. I wasn't sure if that was something that was going to continue to be improved. We were really going more towards with the parking spots at the end of Hickory.
So I think the parking spots are going to help kind of alleviate for now. And then my plan is I actually like to see that. And to your point, yes, I like to kind of see that path kind of a more of a zigzag paved path coming down. I don't think it'll ever be ADA compliant, if you will, because of the hill you got to traverse down there. Um,
Right.
I, for me, I think it's a pretty neat path to come down, if you will,
Yeah.
when it's better and safe. But I think once we get these parking spots in and give some people a chance to park in there, we're going to be able to do a little more with that path. But that is a plan, yes, to do that.
Right.
A little more with that. I actually like to do a little more with that park there. But that's
That'd
going to be a
be great.
follow-on conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Love to be involved with that.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just gonna
no,
ask about the lower level where I forgot the name of the streets that with the dead, with the dead Hickory. Is there any plans to address that lower area? Because that is really rocky. I tried to get my
That's where they're
stroller
gonna
through
talk
there.
about putting the spots in.
Oh, it's on
yeah,
Hickory, it's on top of the Chestnut. Oh,
no, on
that's,
Hickory.
Oh, it's the top of Hickory.
Yeah,
oh, that's
yeah,
great then.
yeah. You're gonna see a whole different entrance to there now. I think we may move that gate or not. We're gonna see, but we obviously got to get mowers in there and either heavy equipment at some point, sometime. But yeah, it's gonna be in the next couple of weeks. You'll see that all done.
Awesome.
Great, great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you both. Thank you, Ms. Scott. Thank you, Supervisor.
I just want to finish.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so I just want to follow up. Yes, so Steve, I did reach out to Congressman Ryan's office. There was something, the residents of Brittany Terrace, they had told me that they had some grant with Congressman Ryan that they've been trying to get for sewer upgrade, because it actually helped them pay for that project. So as soon as I get more information from the congressman's office, I'll keep moving that forward. But there was something there. I know you were looking at trees for tribs. I had a contact with the planning department in the county, Kate Schmidt, but she left. And there's a woman by the name of Lisa Hines. She's with the town of Woodbury. Was it the Conservation Advisory Committee? And I know she does that program. So if you're looking for trees, I can reach out to her. So I just wanted you to know that I do have some contacts, and I know if you don't have a lot of trees or you're at the bottom of the list, Lisa was great to actually get trees for me in Cornwall over the past couple years. So
Yeah, I also saw you at the Sunny Monk Rail Trail event. That's something pretty exciting for a lot of us residents as well, as we'll
Love it.
be connecting over the next couple of years to the Heritage Trail. For those of you who don't know about it, that's been in the works with the Open Space Institute, and went to the meeting and saw Virginia there.
She's everywhere.
Yeah.
No,
She's getting
no,
it
I
done.
mean it's great stuff that's going on in our area, and I'm very happy that there's finally some investment and we can really enjoy that space. So I'm glad the county is moving to the east, right? Or the east in terms of the county. I know you're in the western part of Cornwall, but again, they're moving eastward, so it's a good thing. So I'll keep you posted. Larry, thank you for all of that data. I also went to Dawn here to go Sparkle. I went to the oh, I saw Steve today too. Steve with the partnership breakfast, the commissioner for the DEC. I'm going to get her email address, and maybe that's another contact that we could use. 'Cause I know in Cornwall, it was really a pain in the neck to get any kind of response. I don't know, Larry, what your experiences have been, but you really have to, you have to keep at it. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing because you have a lot of data, and now it's about the permit and, what are they going to do about it? So
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, this is a fruitful
welcome.
meeting.
So on final board member comments on the Cornwall Social, we do have a little bit of dialogue with the owners of that facility. Previous board chair has reached out with an email for a further update. I was hopeful to have that information in hand for this meeting. We haven't received a response yet, but I did speak to a Cornwall representative in town, and they said that Cornwall Social work is in progress. It's going slower than they expected, but it is headed in the right direction. So nothing big to report, but as you can see, if you live close by, there are improvements being made on that lot on a regular
And what's
basis.
nice is that they're working towards Route 94.
Yes.
Yeah, with that state highway entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they're still working on trying to get through with the Department of Transportation to allow them to have the access instead, not being on Shore Drive on a residential street, which was one of our biggest pushbacks.
And their dry hydrant's been
Right,
approved.
yeah, all of that is up and going. And also, the Cornwall representative, said that, bids for the, inflow and infiltration or the INI for the, Beaver Dam Lake, Cornwall, and the Windsor expansion. Currently, there are, they're looking for open bids right now for the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's supposed to close at the end of the month, I believe.
Right, and we'll get more information as that comes ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of a sewer audit and a runoff audit.
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry, that's
Go
also
ahead,
gonna be
go ahead,
important.
Mr.
That's
Bud.
also gonna be important for that to get completed for them to allow to hook up to the town sewer too. So, once all that I is cleared up, then the town's good with them connecting, so they're not dumping effluent at some point into the lake either, and then we're back to square one.
Mhm. Yeah, and some pumps and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
All right. All right, thank you, everybody. Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else that anyone wants to mention?
Not
We've really gotten into the weeds on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So,
Well, congratulations on all of your appointments. I know the county legislature, we actually voted to approve your appointments, for high paying volunteer jobs. So
right, yeah,
congratulations.
so it's Sparkle and Sean, welcome here. You're officially getting
You're officially volunteers.
volunteering, yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right,
I'll make a second.
all right, second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, good night, everybody, the meeting is
Thank
adjourned.
you.
Thank you,
Good
thank you,
night.
see you next time.